Hi, this is Maria from Bloomers. We're doing our next in our series of tough plants, tough places. And today we're going to talk a little bit about dry shade, which is a difficult situation, but we do have some ideas and some solutions. So I'm going to start with annuals, and believe it or not, there is at least one kind of annual we can recommend for a dry shade situation. That is the wax begonias. People often think of them as a bedding plant, which means that it is planted in quantity. We have them in 3 different colors: red, pink, and white. And because they are begonias, they have thick leaves that tend to hold on to moisture. In fact, the worry with begonias is that you'll overwater them. So they're a good choice for dry shade. They will even bloom depending on what type of shade you have. If it's under a tree, for instance, if it gets dappled light, that's enough for it to bloom. Moving on to perennials, there are a few, and some of them are really quite reliable. The first one I'm going to talk about is ferns. And whereas most ferns do enjoy a moist environment, there are a lot of ferns that are really okay in drought conditions once they're established. This lady fern is a good example of a fern that does well. There are other ferns in the wood fern family and in the leather fern family that will also do well in dry conditions. When you're shopping for ferns, it will really pay to do a little bit of research. And then, of course, when you get to Bloomers, we're happy to help you with more information. And most of our tags are fairly informative as to the conditions the plants prefer. Another fern that you can use in dry, shady areas is the autumn brilliance fern. And in addition to being a very pretty plant, it also has lovely fall color. So multi-purpose, multi ways that it adds to the beauty. Continuing with perennials, the next family is, the botanical name is Lamium. The common name is dead nettle, which is why I usually use the botanical name, because dead nettle just sounds like it's not going to be a big success. It is a terrific shade plant. For starters, it does perfectly well in dry shade. It blooms, but it has this added benefit of color in the foliage that even if it didn't bloom, it would bring vibrancy to your shady, dry areas. This one is a chartreuse with a white line, blooms purple, and it is called lemon frost. This one is called Ghost. And you can see it has this beautiful white silvery foliage which persists throughout the entire season. And it does bloom with a purple bloom. And if you plant these en masse, you will get a beautiful just haze of purple just above the ground cover. Purple Dragon, very similar, slightly different variegation. It has a green margin, but it still has that white silvery center. A profuse bloomer, Purple Dragon, again, en masse, is reliable, and it's really an impressive show when they all start to bloom. The next plant is called Epimedium. The common name is barren wort. Again, try not to use the common name because it doesn't sound very good. Epimedium is a wonderful plant. I have actually seen this grow and spread underneath outdoor steps where there is quite literally no sun whatsoever. It also has delicate, very pretty flowers that come out first in the spring and sort of are suspended seemingly by magic, but they really do have petioles. And then the flowers fade and the foliage persists. Very pretty heart-shaped leaves. The new foliage is red on this particular variety. I can't say enough good things about Epimedium. It is reliable, it's very pretty. And I have seen it do some incredible things in dry shade. So moving on to ground covers. This is Pachysandra, and it's something that many of you will be familiar with, maybe not realizing that actually it's very, very good choice for dry shade once it's established. And when I say once it's established, every new plant that goes into the ground, even if it's from a container, we still consider it transplanting, and it can be prone to transplant shock or transplant damage. So the full season at least, keep an eye on it, check it to see if it needs to be watered. These guys love tons of organic material. And the way that Pachysandra grows is it's stoloniferous, and it sends out roots into the top inch or two of organic matter. And I'm telling you that not only to increase your success with Pachysandra, but also because if you rake out leaves in the fall, if you rake out mulch to reapply it, you are disconnecting those roots, and the plant has to start all over again, creating a root system. If you leave the roots alone and provide it with organic matter and water it during the first season, you will end up with a carpet of Pachysandra, and when it's healthy and plentiful, it is a very, very beautiful ground cover. Here's another perennial. This is a hosta, and hostas, first of all, unless it's one that's been particularly cultivated to be a sun hosta, hostas like shade, and they do very well in dry shade once they are established. Again, many of our shade plants, we don't grow them for the flowers, we grow them for the foliage, and hosta has many, many variations that make them a lovely shade plant, and to brighten up areas that are otherwise dark. So next we will talk about shrubs for dry shade. The way we differentiate between perennials and shrubs, perennials are really herbaceous, which means that they die to the ground every fall and they come back up in the spring. Shrubs, they may or may not lose their foliage, but the woody structure and next year's buds are always present. This particular plant is called Sarcococca. The common name is sweetbox. It is a very pretty, low-growing evergreen shrub that has a very nice natural habit without any pruning. And when it flowers, you'll know why they call it sweetbox. It's great along a path or under, a low porch. And definitely en masse is the best way to do it if you can, if you have the room. And the more you put in, the more of the fragrance you will have. And last in this difficult category is a really interesting plant that many people would like to add to their gardens, even if it wasn't great for dry shade. This is a Mahonia. It is an evergreen. The common name is Oregon grape, and it has beautiful, bright yellow panicles of flowers in the spring that turn to a dusty purple fruit that really looks like grapes. Actually, it really does look like grapes. So it looks a lot like a holly, as you can see, but it's really in the barberry family, and it does flower, and you can't miss the flower, and then it has this really interesting fruit. So Mahonia has a lot going for it, and it is extremely easy to grow. So I hope that was helpful. All of these plants are here at Bloomers, and of course we have plants for a number of different situations. So come on down, let us help you pick out the plants for your difficult spot or your easy spot.